Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen. So Shashanka wants to know how to control self-laughing.
So that's like one of those topics that there's so much I can say about. I would, okay, so let's take multiple perspectives on this. The first perspective, I guess, as a behaviorist is you try to have someone identify if there's a particular function to it. That means, is the child trying to communicate something, or is there a reason that he's laughing? And we always start with trying to figure out what is the reason. Now, there could be a million different reasons. This is a tough one. It could be anything from when he laughs, he gets a lot of attention. When he laughs, he likes the sound of his own laughter. When he laughs, he's avoiding some other demand that was placed on him. I mean, I could go on and on. On a completely different side of the whole thing, he could be laughing because of some other biomedical issue. A lot of times, what I've seen and heard from parents is that when their child has a high level of yeast, they have this reaction, this self-laughing. A lot of parents call it self-laughing. It almost looks like the child is drunk. It's either at the phase...
I'm laughing because we called it the drunken elf.
There you go. That's exactly what it is.
That's exactly what we called it.
It's either at the point where they have a very high level of fungal infection, yeast, in their gut, or it's when you've started treating it and they have what's called yeast die-off. So you're starting to treat it and the yeast is starting to die off, and this is the kind of reaction you get from the metabolism of the yeast. So I would look into, and I would try to get a medical doctor to evaluate and see if there is a fungal infection that you're dealing with as well. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to figure out why. That could be a possible thing for sure, as could be a number of different behavioral things that I mentioned, as well as something, it could also even be something like he's not getting sleep. If he's not getting sleep, kids tend to become very silly when they don't sleep enough. So you really have to really think about what are the possible reasons and look into all of them. Once you figure that out, we do the intervention. If it's a yeast issue, then there's medical interventions for that. If it's a sleep issue, we deal with that. If it's a behavioral issue, then we have a lot of behavioral ideas and interventions that you can implement.
Yeah, and it's not a definitive test, but a quick thing to do is to smell your kid. And smell their head, smell their feet, smell their breath. If their head smells like they're baking bread, or their feet smell like they're baking bread, or their breath smells like they just ate fruit or brandy, like even an alcohol smell, then you very likely are looking at yeast. My kid, honestly, he would sweat, and I loved to smell his head. It was like a fresh baked bread smell. It was just like, I used to laugh and take off his socks, and I would smell his feet, and I would go, oh, yeasty muffins, it wasn't it was, and then we would laugh and I would tickle his feet and whatever, not realizing that that's what it was. So that's a really good indicator, and there are all kinds of yeast protocols, and it is a very pervasive.
There's also a lot of naturopathic, homeopathic ways you can deal with yeast as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be intense medications. There's dietary controls. There's lots of different ways to control yeast. But
just know that when you treat yeast, it almost always gets worse before it gets better. Right. So plan for that.
Same for behavior.
Right? Absolutely. Hey, thanks for watching Autism Live. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.